What's the biggest mistake that you still see travel nurses making today?
Travelers not doing what I call their own due diligence. Make sure you're sticking up for yourself. No one's going to take care of you like you.
Thank you for joining me for another episode of On the Clock and Off the Record. Each episode is brought to you by Atlas MedStaff, unapologetically human. Today's guest is someone a lot of traveling healthcare professionals probably know, even though they've never met him in person. Drew Jones is the founder and owner of the Travel Nurse Guide, one of the largest and most engaged communities on Facebook today. What started as just a group has grown into a place where travelers go for advice, information, industry news, and plenty of honest conversations about what they do every day on the road. Drew, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Rich.
I gave you a slight introduction there. You want to introduce yourself, how you got into this, where you're at right now, that type of thing?
Yeah, absolutely. I am a nurse. I started traveling in 2017. Traveling is, it really changed my life, but getting into it it had its ups and downs. I struggled a little bit getting started, made some mistakes. And really, as I continued traveling, I realized a lot of other travelers have mistakes as well. Some of my mistakes cost me quite a bit, and I didn't like that. So I dug deep into the industry to learn as much as I could. And I really just wanted to share that information. And that's kind of where the group started, kind of how I got my start into travel nursing. I've traveled up until about the end of 2023. Currently took a staff position just so I can spend more time with the family, but still very involved with the travel nurse community.
Your story is not uncommon. I've heard that multiple times through the years. And I think when you and I have talked previously, it's the perseverance through that, right? That really stood out. It's like you can make mistakes, but then you pick yourself up and you learn from them and you move on. And that's one of the things I've noticed in your group too, is it's okay to have those conversations. No one's judging you because you made those mistakes.
Yeah, absolutely. I really think that one thing that sets my group apart, or at least that I would like to think, is that I've shared my stories. I've shared my struggles where I've made mistakes. People come and they share, I'm having this issue, or maybe this is going on, or, someone's telling me this, but I'm seeing this. What should I do? It's just that real truth. People kind of work through it. They learn from it. They get that validation from other members of the group. It's a pretty cool place.
It is. It really is. So, all right. You ready to get started with this?
Let's go.
All right. On the clock. Question number 1. You built the Travel Nurse Guide to help nurses and allied professionals, right? You have a lot of allied professionals on there too. Navigate an industry that often feels confusing, like you had mentioned. What's the moment you realized travel nurses or traveling healthcare professionals needed a better roadmap?
I've already kind of touched on this a little bit. It really started with my journey. I knew I wanted to be a travel nurse. I actually quit my staff job. So I kind of forced myself. There was no turning back. And I just didn't know what I didn't know. I didn't know what questions to ask. So it was a struggle. I actually took about 5 weeks to get my first contract. But no, it came from my journey. The struggle, it was about 6 months into my first travel contract that another traveler came around or started the same contract as me, and he was making a significant amount more than me. And I had no clue that I, was kind of missing out on this potential. That's really what kind of struck a fire under me, made me dig super deep into the industry to learn as much as possible.
Well, you don't know what you don't know, right? I mean, and that's especially starting off. And so you learn, like you said, you pick yourself up and you move on from those mistakes.
Correct.
Yeah. Question number 2. You spent years educating nurses about contracts, pay packages, career decisions. We just talked about it. This might not be it. This might be it. What's the biggest mistake that you still see travel nurses making today?
I think the biggest, most common mistake would be travelers not doing what I call their own due diligence. There are lots of great recruiters in the industry. There's some slightly less than great. There's some that, maybe don't have the best of reputation or practices. And unfortunately, it's not obvious who you get a lot of times. As a new traveler, I see a lot of travelers just because their recruiter is super nice, very friendly, and appears helpful, they automatically assume that they've got, one of the best recruiters who, truly has their best interest at mind, and they're going to offer them the best, potential contract they can. And just unfortunately, that's not always true, and it's kind of hard to distinguish sometimes, what you're getting without doing your own due diligence or your own homework. It takes a dedicated traveler to kind of put in that extra work to, talk to some others, compare contracts, really just kind of make sure you are getting the best contract for yourself. Maybe that's the best pay rate. Maybe that's just the best overall contract. But ultimately, I try to teach travelers to, make sure you're sticking up for yourself. No one's going to take care of you like you. And that's one of my most common pieces of advice there is to, dig deep. Don't just take someone else's word for it.
And that's why you have the group, right? That's exactly why the group exists. The amount of information online has exploded over the last couple of years. How do you separate the good information from the not so good information?
That's a good question, Rich. And I think that's still a struggle out there. I struggled with that, not even knowing what questions to ask. But then when you ask questions, you get multiple different answers out there, and it's so hard to figure out what is right, what is wrong, or maybe none of it is wrong. Maybe just it's all based off what is best for you, which is a whole nother struggle of figuring out what is best for you when there's so many options out there. It's you ultimately have to ask yourself. What I go back to is what are your priorities? What are you looking for? Why are you wanting to be a travel nurse, or why are you travel nursing? Let's go back to the very basics. Let's figure out what your goals are and what your priorities are, and let's work from there. We can kind of eliminate some of the information, some of the options, but ultimately that's kind of where we go with that.
Good answer. Yep, absolutely. All right. Last question, last hard question on the clock question, right? As someone who sits between the nurses, traveling healthcare professionals, and the industry itself, where do you think healthcare staffing is going over the next couple of years?
I'm not sure I have an answer for that, Rich.
I don't either. I'm looking.
I was hoping you could tell me. I think I've always just kind of focused on the current with my group. Let's get through whatever it is. I do think a lot of things in life, there's a cycle. With COVID, of course, that's somewhat of an outlier, but pay rates were super high, and now we're kind of on the other end of things. So I keep telling myself we're going to cycle, at least up a little bit in the future. I don't know exactly what is happening on the backside with all the numbers and all of that. But one thing that I have been telling people recently is that I think there's a new generation of travelers out there right now. And that's kind of the way I'm explaining it. I think a lot of your COVID travelers have kind of stepped out. They've done their thing through COVID. It's maybe no longer really what they're looking for. They were looking for that quick opportunity. Yep. You've got some other travelers now who've got 5, 6, 7 years more of experience. Maybe a staff job is paying more than some of these travel contracts. I think there's a newer generation of travelers that's kind of come in here recently. They're, probably the younger or less experienced. Not saying they're unexperienced, but they don't have those years of raises built up,
Right.
to where traveling is still, financially beneficial to them. I think that's what I've been seeing quite a bit through my community. It's a whole new group of travelers. So I'm excited to kind of see how they handle the industry and the changes we've had since COVID.
To be fair, there's a whole new generation of recruiters starting right now too, right? That the COVID recruiters have gone, and we have a new generation of recruiters starting right now that understand exactly what we're trained to understand exactly what you're talking about. So training now versus training 5 years ago versus training 15 years ago looks completely different. And so we are trying to adapt on our side to understand what that market looks like right now and what those travelers are looking for in this market, the newer ones that you're talking about. And then how do we accommodate them best, right? How do we make that relationship as good as we possibly can?
Right. Right.
Off the record, let's relax. You can relax a little bit. Here we go. I want to know, question number one, I want to know who Drew was before all of this. What was your path to nursing? How'd you get started?
Oh man, my path to nursing. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I was a pretty good student. I made good grades. I cruised through high school. Just did it. Just did what I was told, and ultimately that was a little bit of my own downfall. I never put a whole lot of deep thought into what did I want to do. So when I graduated high school, it was time to pick a degree, and ultimately I started out choosing the medical field. I got a job in the ER, and of course, working around a bunch of nurses in the ER. They kind of, next thing I know, I'm applying for nursing school. So ultimately, that's kind of how it happened.
It totally makes sense. Like here, and I relate that to what we do here. No one goes to college and says, I want to be a travel nurse recruiter. Like that's
Right.
and I think that your story here is not that uncommon either. That you found it through the avenues that you did, right? And then you thought, you know what, this is for me. Like maybe you didn't think that, and then all of a sudden you've been doing it for however many years, right?
Yes. Yeah. I think ultimately, just getting into the medical field, it was, everybody tells you you'll always have a job, you'll make good money. That was really kind of the selling points that got me, my foot into the medical field. And it was just all, I guess history from there.
Yeah. All right. Think about the group. Has there ever been a point in time with the group where you thought, this is not worth it, it's too much work? Tell me about that moment where you almost walked away, but then you decided not to, because we've all had those.
Yeah, I've had a couple of those moments. It takes quite a bit to moderate, but also keep engaged, especially the engagement part. Content creation is a big job, and it really does take somebody, or at least somebody at the top, to keep a group engaged. And there's been times that I've just gotten busy with life, gotten a little, burnt out on constant content creation, that I've kind of stepped back temporarily. But luckily my group, it's always been there. It might have slowed down from time to time, but ultimately, my true members have really stuck through with me. I have had some members since near about day one, and I mean they'll message me occasionally. They'll ask how I'm doing. It's really cool.
Awesome. All right. You're building a brand around yourself, whether you set out to do that or not, right? That's what you're doing right now. It can be rewarding. It can be exhausting. How do you balance that with home life, still working a career in nursing, everything that goes along with that? How do you balance that out?
I'm I'm doing the best I can. I tell all my friends when I see them, they ask how you're doing, and I tell them, me and my wife and my two kids, we're grinding through life right now. I tell them 2 kids, two jobs, a community that I'm managing here. It's a full-time job, and I don't think I can say it's always a balance, but we're having a good time through the chaos. So
Good answer. And you know what? No one has an answer to that question. I don't have an answer to that question, and I've been doing this for however long, right? You have to grind it out. You have to be present in each one of those parts of your life, in the times that make sense. So
no, absolutely.
yeah. All right, last question. What experience in your life best explains why you've become who you've become?
Ooh, that's a good question. I don't know if I have an answer to that. If I got to that one before this,
I want to know more about you. Like, I want to know, was there ever an experience in your life, a patient, a situation, anything that really kind of shaped who you are right now? Like, I think we all have kind of those, I don't want to call it an origin story, but something that really made, like, this is why I am the way I am right now.
Man, I don't know if I really have like like a single moment. I do really enjoy helping people. I think I'm not even 100% sure I was supposed to be a nurse, but I think it does work out that way. Like, I do have that desire to help people. It's the same with my group. The desire to share the information. I want to make other people as to their best of their ability, to really get them to their best. I really get enjoyment out of my group members when, one of them will individually message me and say, hey, you really helped me. Over the past 5 years, I've been traveling, and I bet you've helped me make X amount dollars more because of, the things you've taught, or, maybe it was I started investing, during COVID, and there's been just those little specific moments are really what I think keeps me going deep down. I mean, that gives me a lot of joy knowing that I have impacted individual people's lives, to that extent.
Makes sense. Makes total sense. Okay. Rapid fire. These are much easier. Much, much easier. Are you ready?
Yes, sir.
All right. In honor of Stephen Colbert, what sandwich is best?
Oh, Rich, I'm not too picky. I'm 6'4", about 250 pounds, and I'll eat pretty much anything you put in front of me. But I think right now it's summertime here in South Georgia, and I'm looking forward to a good BLT.
Oh,
straight from the garden.
Oh my gosh!
So
yeah,
you can't beat those in the summertime. Little lunchtime BLT on the weekend.
Do you go with mayonnaise or no?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Little salt and pepper.
Oh, perfect. What's your guilty pleasure right now?
Guilty pleasure. What little bit of time I do have, I occasionally like to go out to the golf range and hit a bucket of balls. I'm absolutely terrible at golf, but man, I think it's more about the peace and quiet than actually hitting golf balls. So
I've always subscribed to the golf ruins a perfectly good walk, and I it's not for me. I get it though, like I totally understand, but man, if that's your zen, do it.
Yeah, I'm not good at it, but it's just kind of it's how I step out. I think I step away from everything. It gives me just a little bit of time.
All right. What's the most used app on your phone right now? And Facebook doesn't count.
Facebook's definitely number one. YouTube would probably be number two. I'm always learning. I can't not watch something that's not educational. I'm always looking to learn.
Yep. anytime I need something around the house, I need to understand how to cook something or whatever, it's TikTok or YouTube, one of the two, and I'll figure it out from there.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, last question. Travel nursing would be better if?
I think it would be better if there was more accountability, and that goes for both sides. I think since COVID, we've lost a lot of accountability. I think some bad practices, some bad techniques got started, and they fueled, some of the bad practices from recruiters, fueled some bad behaviors from travelers, and I still see them, every day. And it kind of hurts me a little bit. I hate to see it because it makes it harder for both sides. And I hope that it's part of the cycle that maybe some of this stuff will get better. But
that's what I was going to say. We went through such a tumultuous time that I'm not surprised that the hangover from all of that and some of those bad habits on both sides still exist. And I think it'll just take some time to work its way out.
Yeah. Hopefully this new generation of travelers and recruiters can work it out among themselves. And
we're here to help. We are absolutely here to help along the way. We are not innocent whatsoever. We are just as guilty as some of that, but we can work together and make our industry so much better.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited to see where it's going.
Me too. Absolutely. Drew, thank you so much. One last question, super easy. Where can we find you? Where can we find the group?
Yeah, absolutely. If you're a healthcare worker and you're interested in traveling, you can check out our group on Facebook at the Travel Nurse Guide, or you can find me on LinkedIn at Drew Jones, or email me at drew@travelnurseguide.com.
There you go.
Thank you,
Drew,
Rich.
thank you so much.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
appreciate it. That was awesome. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Rich. Have a good one.
Join us for our next episode where we talk to another industry insider about the staffing world.